Hey HCDA and welcome back to Ixion. Today we are going to colonize a planet, this one to be specific, and we are going to save the Protagoras, at least that's the plan. On top of that, we want to get as many of these resources as we can on the ship in order to prepare for the next chapter. The colonization process itself has pretty much already been started because we're ferrying some resources to that planet, and we also just are constructing the colonization training center, which will train our colonists. I know, exciting. And hopefully that should pretty much take care of itself. We need 60 colonists, I believe, so this is going to take a while, but we have some other stuff to do in the meanwhile. For example, we need the Protagoras diagnostic analysis and then the retractable telescopic pole. So I'm guessing we might get more upgrades here, so that's why I want to prioritize this first before continuing with things we don't really need at the moment, like the fire station. So let's get that started. Working our way from the bottom of our to-do list to the top, we also need to mine the ice trapping the Protagoras. Now, if we click on the Protagoras, we can actually set the resources to mine to high priority. These should hopefully mean that our mining ships will prioritize this one over all the other nodes that we have available for water. And then finally, we are going to need to repair the superstructure and provide the resources to support the Protagoras crew. Now, the problem is doing that from the other side of the system is probably not very efficient because the traveling time is pretty large in this distance. So actually what I want to do is move the Tycoon all the way through this cloud. And this is going to take 4.5 cycles, so this is going to give us a pretty large hit to our hull integrity as well as a thrust, because we are going to dip below 0 power. But nonetheless, we are just going to do that. And as always, we get a nice cinematic while doing so. Well, apparently moving a big space station through a big zone of angry clouds is not necessarily a good idea, but I think we'll be fine for now. The clouds don't seem to really affect our other ships. So, I'll take the risk. Moving the Tycoon in the middle of this is a lot more efficient for supplying the colonists over here. It's more efficient for getting all these resources on board. So, I definitely think this is going to pay off in the long run and it's worth the risk. On a second note, look at the little cargo ship try to catch up with the big one. And if you just want to know how bad exactly the weather is, well, just look at this visual. It's really, really cool. From a more mechanical perspective, the ice mist is apparently endangering the hull in our EVA worker. So, not entirely sure how that will turn out in the long run, but for now, nothing bad has happened and the Protagoras is almost at its destination already. On top of that, you can see everyone is angry at me, so we're losing some trust, we're losing hull integrity, but we're almost there, so I think we should be fine in the long run. So honestly, I was expecting the ruins of a starship, but apparently we have arrived on site and met with the crew of the Protagoras. We were welcomed like heroes. People crowded around us, reaching out and touching us if they had doubted our existence. Some of the older crew members looked on with skepticism. The crew are weak, tired and disoriented from the chaotic sleep. They have been traumatized by the horrors they suffered at the hands of the Atamanaki crew. They provided us with a complete diagnostic rundown of their structure, and we can now allocate resources and begin repairs. Not entirely sure if we can just repair the superstructure or also do this. I think actually these are the two different parts of our assignment that we currently have going on. Not entirely sure if it matters where we start, but I just thematically, I think let's feed them first, make them happy, make them comfortable, and then focus on actually fixing the actual ship itself. What's happening? Oh wow, this is so cool. We can actually see the Protagoras in the background of our spaceship now. It's a small little detail. I'm not entirely sure if this has a functional value, but it's awesome. Okay, so just a few practical notes. Everyone is starving right now, and that's just because the power was turned off for a while and they couldn't actually get to their food. This is turning people very angry at me, and there's actually a risk of strikes as well. Now, I hope that this will sort it out by itself as soon as the Protagoras actually stops moving. Well, it's actually stopped moving, so I'm not sure what's happening because it still says it's moving, but we do have all the power back on. which means we are not actually using the moving battery, but we have a surplus. Anyway, doesn't really matter. I think that will fix itself and update itself in a moment. Now, what I do want to note is that this is a very good reason to maybe build some more batteries, because of course turning the power off on your space station where people rely on that power to actually stay alive is probably not the best thing to do on a regular basis. And I think we might want to start moving our ship around a bit more in the future as well. And yeah, the people are not too happy about moving our spaceship into danger, so they say unless an objective of critical importance lies within, like say the Protagoras, I don't know, we should avoid entering affected areas when using our EKP systems. Well, I don't disagree, but I can't avoid entering space weather for 20 cycles, considering I'm in the middle of it. So yeah, a little rain never hurt anyone, right? Ah, look at our colonists being trained by their teachers up on the balcony, taking notes over how badly they are trying to terraform the planet. It's so cute. Okie dokie, we are now able to build a retractable telescopic pole, apparently. Which we can find over here, and apparently it's not even that expensive. It's only 60 polymers, and we have plenty, so yeah, let's just start on that. And I know the hull isn't completely repaired, but actually it's more efficient to repair your hull the more it's damaged. Sounds weird, I know, but it's true. So we might as well just take another hit to our hull and then repair it. It'll actually save a bit of time. As a side note, you can actually see these little tiny ships flying around your space station as well. It's super cool. And in case you were wondering, whenever you build something in your EVA centers, if you've been playing yourself, you already knew this, but all the EVA airlocks start building this together. It actually goes pretty fast, so that's an upside, but it does mean that you're not actually repairing your hull at all while you do this. I hadn't actually noticed this button before, but you can actually resolve starvation as soon as food is available, and I have seen no reason not to turn this on, so hopefully that will get these angry people off our back sometime sooner. There we go, that's a lot better. No one is starving anymore, and everyone is back to happy, even though they're still a little bit sad from, you know, the Earth dying, leaving the home behind, and discovering that the Fate Protagoras was attacked, but so far, so good. Oh, and as a side note, you actually do need to train your colonists manually. It won't start out of itself, unless, of course, you assign them to be trained automatically, but that's a huge drain on your electronics. So you need 1 electronics and 15 non-workers to be trained to colonists. The non-workers don't really have a use other than producing waste and eating your food. The eating of the food being a bad thing, the producing of waste, at least as soon as we get some more technology up and running, being a good thing. But for now, I would recommend always pretty much just doing this manually. Just don't forget to do that if you need colonists. And I know we're only in chapter 2, but welcome to the end game, because we have had so much research coming in that we already unlocked all the items in the first 2 tiers. So now we have unlocked the final tier of research, and it gives us access to so many shiny things. We have nuclear power plants, so we can turn waste into water. We have terrain stations. This is going to be massively useful in order to get stuff from A to B a lot quicker. We have a drone bay. This looks awesome. So we're going to need a lot of those. So we are going to need algae farms probably. So this is a moderate amount of water to produce a large amount of food. Sounds awesome. In other words, we have a lot of fun stuff over here. What this also means is that we have now access to all the next tier items as well that we didn't have unlocked. For example, we can have our quarters produce waste. And this is going to be massively useful because we have a lot of quarters. We have almost 1,000 people living on our station now. They could all be producing waste for us. And if they do, we can turn that into useful stuff, either into food, through the mushroom balls, or through the, the waste treatment center, into alloys, polymers, or electronics. So this is basically free stuff. Now, this is not a massive amount, but even with 1,000 people, which is approximately what we have currently, this will be producing about 3 waste per cycle. It's 1 per 20 inhabitants, so times 50 divided by 15 cycles is about 3, a little bit more than that per cycle. So that's actually not a negligible amount, and that is just with 1,000 people. We are currently importing about 400, 500, 600 more just from the Protagoras. So this is going to scale up quite nicely, and the sooner we have this, the better. So this is where I'm going to start for now. We don't currently have an income for science from anywhere else other than our science center itself, our tech center. But it's only 35 research, so that should slowly start accumulating while we do other stuff. Okay, it's a little bit weird that there's no more specific announcement about this, but we are losing people slowly due to the weather. Now, this is very, very slow, and it's actually a lot slower than the rate at which we're bringing people in. Um, and it's also the only warning we get about this, but they are dying for a greater cause, and the great cause in this case being efficiency, and we all love efficiency on this channel. Well, there's probably going to be a few larger skips in timing this episode, because right now there's not much we can do. We are constructing stuff on the Protagoras, which costs alloy, we are constructing things on the planet, which cost alloy, and we need our electronics to train our colonists, and, well, we are producing electronics, but it's at a very slow rate, so basically I'm just waiting for more resources to become available before we can build new stuff. Okay, maybe it's a little trickier than I thought. Apparently, having solar panels in a bad weather situation is a bad thing, because we just had one breaking down on us and that dipped our power below zero. So we're just going to go and repair it. It doesn't actually cost anything, but your power breaking down in the wrong moment can definitely be a problem. But we are making progress, because the resources necessary for the well-being of the Protagoras crew have been brought aboard. As we were completing our last task, an invitation was found that had been left for us. Some of the older members of the Protagoras wished to meet with us. Alright, well, I guess we can hold off on restoring your actual systems for 3 cycles while we go talk. That's a very long conversation, but anyway, let's find out what they want. Okay, we are getting a little bit of resources again to basically do whatever we want around our station, and there's a couple of things I want to fix. So I want to fix the power situation. I want some more batteries in place wherever we have some space left, in order to make sure that I can move my Tycoon on larger distances in case we need it. And if something happens like solar cells breaking down, that should also be less of an issue. Now, the other thing that I want to fix is stability. We are getting some pretty hefty minus bonuses, and I'm guessing we're going to get some more. So we need to work with stability. And the way we can do that is that we have some buildings unlocked that can actually provide us stability in a sector, and each of them actually relates to a specific specializations. For example, in this sector, this is our industry sector, of course. We could build a Marduk Memorial, and that will help us stabilize, not just with the +1 that it says initially, but we can actually research some upgrades that will extend that even further. And there's actually another thing that I want to optimize, and that is waste production, because if you look at sector 6 over here, we are slowly stocking up on the waste, and honestly I do think that our food production is in a very good position. We have plenty of water to work with, we have some more ice coming in. So all in all, nothing to worry about over here. So we don't need to waste for food. So we can put the waste towards building some actual resources. And in order to do that, we are going to be building a waste treatment center. And I think we can fit that in over here along with some memorials. That does mean we are going to need to take out some of these quarters over here. So let's go and dismantle those. We have some spare housing in this sector anyway. I want to remove this one over here. So let's dismantle this insect farm. We can probably take this one out as well at this point to free up some space and have some more battery room over here. We can probably fit in a memorial over here as well. And then what else do we need? Well, we need some stuff over here, but that can wait a moment while we do everything else. Looking at this space over here, it doesn't actually fit exactly what I want. We just need a little bit more space, but honestly I think this is also a good opportunity to kind of re-optimize what we have going on over here. Now, when we first started building this, or when I first started building this, I wasn't thinking too much about optimizing the last little bit of space in this area, simply because this is the second quarter that we opened and we needed some stuff going on. Although I don't think we did a bad job. I mean, it's not entirely perfect over here, and there's a small area over here as well. But specifically, I think we can be a bit more efficient about putting stuff to the wall as much as possible and minimizing the amount of roads that we need. So what we're going to do is actually take this down. We'll take these buildings down, shift this one over all the way snugly next to the steel smelter over here, and then we should have enough room to fit some more things in these corners. Similarly, over here we can build, for example, an alternate life center. Now, this is actually a building that will provide one stability as well, but it actually scales with the amount of population you have in a sector. And considering this is the population where I'm stacking up all my non-workers, we might as well put them to some good use and have a very nice and small efficient building in order to make them happy. Now, the nice thing about placing it in that corner over there is that we can actually fit a optimized quarter in the back behind that. so we're actually making efficient use out of that space. The Elders, as they call themselves, have told us their story. They are among some of the last members of the crew to remember Earth. Many in the Protagoras do not remember their past. The Elders blame Dolos cryonic technology for this phenomenon. They testified to a significant difference between the crew of the Protagoras and that of the Etemenanki. The crew of the Etemenanki was mainly composed of people who had lived on Earth almost all their lives. According to the Elders, Volt technology is more than just space travel technology. They believe each Volt jump by a Dolos vessel generates cataclysm equivalent to that initially caused by the Tycoon. Frau's tachyons, they say, are the root cause of this, and the fact that the UN self-similar space travel technology does not utilize these particles means that their ships do not leave behind such cataclysm. The discussion lasted for some time. R2 Brivia and Omrao Belbir have decided to stay on the Protagoras with the Elders. They do not want to follow Tycoon's mission anymore. Okay, well, we can lose 2 members, but apparently the bigger event here is that our jump technology is apparently causing some issues. Well, considering we blew up the entire moon and as a result of that our home planet, I would say they might have a point. But anyway, us humans have to help each other out considering we don't have a home planet anymore, so let's repair the Protagoras superstructure and reboot its core systems. Okay, this gives us some room to work with. Let's see how we can fit as much stuff in this area as possible. Okay, so how about this? We have this little road over here because we do actually still need to connect the steel mill to a road over here, and we are utilizing this road in this corner over here to connect to a cell housing. This will store 125 people without upgrades. So this will replace all the housing that was here before and then some. And what we're also going to do with that is set a martyr memorial in front of that. This is the industrial version that will give us the plus bonus to happiness. Now we are using some crew quarters. These are, the cell housing. This is not necessarily where people want to live, but we should still have the majority of people living in the optimized quarters, so we won't lose the bonus because of that. Now then next to that, in all the way in the corner over here, completely optimized, doesn't get more optimal than this, we have the EVA airlock that is just moved up a little bit. That does mean we can't connect to the other zone over here through this door, but we still have a couple of doors here left, so that should not be a problem. And then we have this nice square open area over here that we can utilize for whatever else we think of. And then over here in Sector 6 we have another mushroom wall right next to the sector board over here, so it's nice and snug, and 2 of the stockpiles in front of the board since we can't use anything on the wall there. 1 for some more ice storage and 1 for some more waste storage. We are going to need a lot more trucks driving around to collect it as well as deliver it to where it needs to go. And I want to make sure I kind of diversify my food supply, not just relying on the water to come in, but also make sure I have a backup production in terms of waste. Speaking of waste, we also have a waste treatment center over here with a genetic Conatus memorial, or however you pronounce that, for the stability bonus. And of course I am building some batteries over here as well, just to make sure we have some backup power in case we are moving around our Tycoon. Something I only just noticed because the other batteries were in the corner, but the batteries actually come up from the ground as they continue to charge. So you can see these are charged almost completely full, and this one I just built and is currently charging. Small little detail, but I really like the attention for detail there. The core systems of the Protagoras are now online and operational. Repairs to the superstructure are complete. We spoke with the crew of the Protagoras. It is clear that most of them are now wish to pursue a different goal than exoplanet colonization. With their tachyon calculator stolen by the UN and their ability to generate full coordinates with it, they say they will no longer attempt to reach Remus. Instead, the Protagoras will become a place for life and perpetual displacement. As there are only 2 sectors of the ship functional, however, the crew accept they must reduce their numbers if they are to have a chance of enduring such an existence. While some will leave the Protagoras with heavy hearts, comforted only by the knowledge they are giving their crewmates the best odds of survival, many more actually wish to join us on the Tycoon and see the mission to reach Remus through to the end. We must welcome them on board the Tycoon before we leave the system and the Protagoras behind. Well then, we have 50 workers and 200 non-workers waiting for us to join us. Well, I would have preferred this to be the other way around, but I guess we'll have to make do because that's actually the main quest we currently have to complete. Alright. Well, everything is going according to plan because we also have set up a temporary test colony and we will hopefully get some nice results from that. I thought we were pretty much done with Protagoras, but apparently we have more events. We have reached the data storage center of the PA. That is very awesome. We can either copy a copy of our own PA there, or we can save a copy of the Protagoras PA. Can we do both? Let's go with a copy. That sounds good. As a side note, if that copy turns out to be evil and takes over our spaceship, I'm going to be really angry. Okay, I think this is like the 5th time my solar panels break down, so I think it's time to move the Tycoon out of the danger zone and basically into a more safer place. Bye-bye, Protagoras. Well, okay, so far so good. 60 Science is a very welcome addition because we have a lot of stuff to research, so I like science. Upgrades, yay! And it does seem that we are now finally done with every single event in this chapter, so we are probably good to go as soon as we get those 250 crew members on board. Okay, so we have a lot of people coming in, we have lots more people we can add to the roster, we have a very stable situation going on with everyone being fairly happy about what we're doing. And that means I think this is the perfect time to redesign my station. I've been kind of building along as we went, unlocking things, building things, pretty much like you would play the game in a first playthrough. But I also think that this is a perfect time to kind of optimize the station that we have going on. However, that is what we're going to be doing in the next episode, because that's probably going to take more time than we have left in this one. So if you like to, well, basically see me redesign the entire station and make it as optimal as we can get, make sure you join in. If you're still here, you're awesome, and I hope to catch you in the next one.